Hello everyone. We welcome you to a very special segment about a topic of primary importance to all of us as a society and especially for adults working with children, be it at home or at school. We will learn and discuss the Montessori method and its significance in supporting child development, especially from birth to 3 years of age. Today, we have with us Ms. Julia Hilson, a Birth to 3 Director of Training with Association Montessori International, the Netherlands. She comes with more than 4 decades of experience, having conducted diploma courses in Australia, UK, South Africa, India, Vietnam, and Japan. We also have with us Ms. Kavya Chandrasekhar, who is a 0 to 3 AMI auxiliary trainer, as well as director of the Montessori Institute of Bangalore. Kavya has AMI diplomas across all age groups from birth to 18 years of age and has worked with children and is very passionate about helping parents and educators apply Montessori principles in their work with children. So let's start with Julia. Dr. Montessori believed the most important age of life is not the age of university studies, but the period from birth to 6. Can you give us a brief insight into the main aspects of the Montessori method, especially concerning this age group?
Okay, yes, I'd love to. I would say that the Montessori method, particularly for birth to 3, this is the beginning of life. This baby is born into a world they do not know. They're adapting to this world. They need to learn about this world. And the most important thing that we always have to hold as knowledge that is, really being backed up by neuroscience now, is that these first 3 years of life really matter. That it is at this time that the young child is in a period of self-construction, that they are building themselves as an individual with their own unique personality and personal traits that they will have. They're also becoming a person of their time and place, their culture that they live, the family that they've been born into. And it's vital that we understand this very special time in a child's life or a human's life so that we can provide a very rich experience for them. And I mean rich in its, how we show up for them. So the kind of adults we are, so that we're able to give them what they need to truly reach their potential. By the age of 3, we see this little person who's going to be the very same. I mean, children I've worked with, when I see them at 3 and then I meet them at 18, they still have those personal traits. They are the person that I, spent time with when they were very small. And so it is a precious time. And all families, we need to reach out and let them know about how they can be with their babies, their toddlers, as they develop, so that we can support them.
So important. So before we go to the next question, can you please give us a request for a song, your favorite song?
Well, actually, yes, Kavya and I were speaking about this, and I'm going to sing one that when I lived in the Torres Straits for 7 years, it was the toddler's favorite one. It's also my grandson's favorite. So it's about crocodiles, because we have many crocodiles in Australia. And it's obviously an action song, so they really love the movement as well. See the great big crocodile, I-oh, 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 swimming in the Pacific Ocean, I-oh, I-oh, I-oh. See him open his great big mouth, I-oh, I-oh, I-oh. Some little fish come swimming by. Snap! Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Wonderful, thank you so much. All right. In 1946, Dr. Montessori said, if education is to prepare man for the present and the future, he will need a new orientation towards the environment. Kavya, in India, in today's digital and fast-changing lifestyles, is the Montessori approach still relevant after 100 years? And is there like scientific proof to back this up?
Thank you so much for that question, Rachana. I'm going to answer this in two ways. I've been involved in Montessori work for about 20 years. So my own personal experience has been that having worked with children from being a newborn till they turn maybe, get into teenage years, I can say that very confidently, having gone through the Montessori method, the characteristics that they develop in terms of engaging with the world definitely looks very different. If the goal of education is to create human beings who feel good about themselves and who are at peace with themselves and who are also looking at contributing to the world around them selflessly, then I think Montessori education is a perfect fit. If we just look at the world around us, right now, we have human beings who are able to regulate themselves and some who are not able to. But Montessori, I feel, is a call for peace. It really looks at building a more human society where we are all interdependent on each other and can coexist. Now, that's been my practical experience, having worked with children from birth up until now, the adolescent age as well. If you're looking at an evidence-based research, then I would highly recommend the Montessori method, The Science Behind the Genius by Angelina Lillard. And she gives a lot of insights into evidence-based approach where she looks at the outcomes of Montessori method. And she also highlights the inadequacies of the traditional method. And this research was done with public schools in the United States. So it's a good book to look at if you're really looking at evidence-based approach. Montessori method is based on observation. It is pretty scientific. And that book and your own practical experience, I think, really do answer many of the things that you're asking today. Yeah.
So because 20 years is a lot of time and you've worked with so many age groups, can you give us one incident or any specific situation that really validated your own belief in the Montessori?
Oh yeah, I remember this very distinctly. I was, you and I did college together. So, I remember when we were going through graduate studies and I had applied for post-graduation, I did a marketing research as part of my post-graduation for early childhood programs. And that's when I stumbled upon Montessori, Waldorf, Reggio Emilia. And when I started reading up on Montessori, because I had to prepare a plan, a marketing plan for early childhood education program, I stumbled upon 2 books in Bangalore. And there were only those 2 books which were easily available in a bookstore. One was The Discovery of the Child and the other one was The Secret of Childhood. And when I read that book, I read it because I had to prepare a project on marketing for early childhood education. Every word that she was saying, I felt like, I wish I was educated this way. I wish the people who were educating me or my teachers treated me in a human way. And when I read it, it felt like, is this even possible? And then, after I finished my post-graduation, I started looking for Montessori training. And when I enrolled for a Montessori training, a high-quality Montessori training, and I did the training and then went into the classroom, what I learned on the training and what I was seeing with children was you could see eye to eye with it. And that's when I think it got affirmed with the 2.5 to 6 year age group. And then slowly when I started working with other age groups, it's just consolidated beautifully. So it's one method that I would highly recommend if you're really looking at supporting children from birth based on observation. It's very scientific, not just any random ideas or thoughts. It's really looking at what is in front of you and then responding to it.
Yeah, and it's been proving itself to be a solid program for 100 years.
Yes, it is.
That itself, I think, says so much. Before we dive further into this fascinating pedagogy, was there any song that we can request for our
Julia and I have come prepared for this.
Please.
This is a song that I used to sing with the toddlers, and they loved it. And it was all about everything that they do and they enjoy doing. Out in the garden each fine day, with my ball I like to play. I bounce my ball, I bounce my ball, I bounce my ball each fine day. And similarly, you go on with flying your kite, rocking your doll. So, and they love it. And it's again an action-based song. And it really calls out to all of them.
Yeah, we at Vivek High School also sing this song often in our classes, and yeah, it's like one of the favorites of the children. Come up with their own, versions of it. It's just beautiful. According to Montessori, it's not enough to see that the child gets good food, good physical care, and enough sleep, because development needs activity too. Especially up here in the north, especially for the age group of less than, say, 2-year-old. A newborn baby who is most of the time sleeping, who is, for most of us, our only job is to feed them and make sure they're clean and, take care of the hygiene. But Montessori believes that there is developmental activity that's needed. Can you explain that?
Yes, I would love to. Montessori, through all of her books, writes about the development of the intellect through movement. So, she was very clear, had a very clear vision. It's part of the pedagogy that, this is why in Montessori classrooms, one of the things that you really notice from traditional schooling is that children are free to move. And this has all been backed up by science now. We know that, to ask a child to just sit at one place and not move and be told what they need to know is not helpful to the human spirit or to their intellect, actually. So there's a lot of science now backing these thoughts of Montessori's, that the need for movement is crucial. And from the beginning of life, working with mothers and fathers and families, it's one of the key messages about the importance of, yes, attachment is very important in those early weeks. And that first year of life where they need proximity to an attachment figure, whether it's mum, dad, grandparents, whoever it might be, they need that. But they also need time to move. They have to understand their body. And so from very early on, they need space to do that. So we always have and recommend that they have a little movement mat or some sort of area on the floor where they regularly go to actually be in that space, to actually get to know their body, where it begins, where it ends. And then from that, we see development through their own effort. And all of this feeds into the intellect growing, because this is where it all starts. If I'm free to move and I get the opportunity to know my body in space, then I not only am developing equilibrium, like balance, and being able to one day get up on all fours and pull myself to stand and then walk as everyone else is around me, but I'm also developing my hand. And that's when Montessori speaks about, this child who's now standing, and it's a very different period of development when they can use their hand. So I think hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm in fact correlating it to human development.
Yes.
It's when we started using our hands,
yes,
that our own intellect grew. And that's the reason why we have become
and more
where we are
refined.
today.
Yes,
is
exactly.
Only because we're standing and we're using our hands as tools of our intellect.
Yes.
And it comes down right at the first year of life.
Exactly. And I think
so
also,
parallel.
I think movement is, we can't say that, I think we shouldn't separate language from that either, because language, also communication, to become a good communicator. There's a lot of physical aspects to learning to communicate as well. So I think it's all of this that builds the intellect.
All right. So VHMI is bringing the first ever Birth to 3 orientation course to be offered in North India. This course will be held at Vivek High School from 3rd to 15th November. This is a full-time course from 8:30 to 3:30 and will include Saturdays. For more details, please contact this number 9026 296 39613. We also have an Instagram page at vhmi.chandigarh. You can also contact us at Vivek High School for more details. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the course, Kavya. Will the course address the practical needs of parents and educators, such as setting a toddler-friendly space, preparing specific materials, or handling certain behaviors that will promote natural development of the child?
The AMI Birth to 3 orientation course is planned to give an introduction to the principles that we need to hold close in order to serve development from birth to 3 years. So in that sense, it's a 10-day course, as you mentioned, and what we will be offering is an orientation, an introduction into understanding children under 3 years. So we will be touching up on the special mind these young children have. We will be talking about what is our role as a parent or a primary caregiver or even as a grandparent. How do we respond to young children's needs is what we will be talking to you briefly about. And of course, yes, we will be creating some handmade materials that you can offer to these tiny hands for children under 1 year. And how does, Julia spoke about language and movement, right? We are going to be going into how does this language develop? How does movement develop? And there is a significant change in the first year of life. So we're going to be looking at that. And we're also going to be looking at how can we use our own homes or our own communities as a space to enrich language. And we will be creating some language aids that you could use, be it at home or in a community setting, to offer rich experience. And most importantly, we always think with children under 3 years, we have to create many things. But the most important thing we need to create is ourselves, just being a responsive adult. And we're going to be talking about that quite a lot. Children under 3 years don't need a long shelf with a lot of activities. They need just necessary and sufficient, and most importantly, our attitude is what impacts their development. And it is, going to be a powerful introduction to the first 3 years of life, which both Julia and I believe is the most crucial time.
Yeah, it's proven to be the most highest development of the human brain happens in those first 3 years, in fact, and then even up to 6 years. I think it's really useful for, especially as a new mother who has maybe not dealt with a lot of very young children, to understand how I can change or what I should do to help the growth of my baby. We have so many play centers, we have so many creches around who are clueless, and they just think having a bed and again just the physical needs of the child are being met. And I'm so glad that we're doing something that really looks at the intellectual, at the emotional stability and growth of a less than 3-year-old child.
I'm also super thankful to VHMI for bringing the Birth to 3 orientation course. I think officially it's the first AMI Birth to 3 course in the North. So I think that, your commitment to the Montessori movement and the Montessori method, I think we acknowledge it immensely. And as you rightly said, Rachana, the AMI Birth to 3 orientation course is for anyone touched with a child under 3 years. It really will bring about a shift in the way they look at this child.
So we're talking about an AMI. Can you explain more about the international recognition of an AMI certification course or just exposure to AMI principles, and how it adds value to a career or to a parent's life too?
I think I'd like to say that, and maybe Kavya would like to add after I've said something, but I live in a country in Australia where it's not actually recognised. It's not at all. So you have to, obviously, if you want to work with children at any level, and I've done the 0 to 12 courses, so I've done the 3 courses, and I've always needed to have a Bachelor of Education to go with it. That's what they recognise if you want to work with younger children. But for me, it is where I learnt how to be with children, and I've worked at all the ages. And, it truly is. I mean, I've gone through a Bachelor of Early Childhood, a Master's in Education, and, I didn't learn how to actually be with children. I actually, they don't, the curriculum's set, but they don't explain how to implement it. So it was really the AMI courses that gave me the tools that I needed, and also the things that children at different age levels actually are interested in and show, like through my experience, have shown me that I am very, what I've observed in children is it meets their needs. They have interest, they engage with it in a very different way from traditional teaching. So, I often say to people, because this question comes up a lot, why would I go and get my AMI qualification? And they just have to sit in one of those classrooms and see. And if you've been a traditional teacher, which I also tried it out for 6 months, because I was intrigued to know, how do I work with these 6 to 9-year-olds in this way? And it's really hard. It's a much more peaceful environment to work in, much more enjoyable, less stressful, and it's joyful. So for me, my experience of doing these courses has led me through my life. I started at 18 in 3 to 6, to really, it's not for me, it's not my job, it's my vocation really, but it's made me who I am today. So I've changed, my family has benefited, my own children, my own 4 children that I've raised have benefited, and my grandchildren benefit from it. So, it truly changes. So whether you're a parent, or whether you're someone who's an assistant in a class right now, or someone who's already done one of the courses and is really interested in what happens, what's the focus at this time, it will add to your life in so many ways, not just on how to understand the child, but also, really give you an idea of what we should be observing and looking for and how we can serve the child better.
Since you spoke about the career prospects, right, you were asking after the AMI training, down south in Bangalore, you run a training center here, VHMI runs a training center, an AMI training center. Down south in Bangalore, I had a training center, Montessori Institute of Bangalore, and every year we train students at all levels, at the birth to 3, 3 to 6, and 6 to 12. All of them, those who have done the training, have either taken up jobs within India or have gone outside of India to work in Montessori or non-Montessori environment. What I see is the way they look at a child. Even if you had a trained adult, in the Montessori pedagogy, work in a traditional school, they're looking at the child. So any curriculum, if you hold the principles very closely, you can offer it in a child-centric approach rather than, being traditional in your approach. Because, like Julia said, research is showing again and again that traditional curriculum, not just for the child, even for the teachers, is leading them to burnout. The implementation of the traditional curriculum in a traditional way. But if you have a curriculum and if you have the Montessori training, it can also enable you to enjoy the process. So we have had students go into Montessori environments, that's our hope, ideally, but they also choose non-Montessori environments, and they say that they're able to bring about a change wherever they are. But a classic example is VHMI itself, right? The shift that you have made in order to make it more child-centric. That's, I think, the big aim.
I was actually asking, what is AMI itself? Why is an AMI diploma? There are so many places offering Montessori, training. Why is AMI? Why is it better?
I'm going to answer that again from 2 perspectives. My own experience. I've done a non-EMI training and I've done an EMI training. And I feel like with an EMI training, for me as an educator, I'm very well equipped with a deep understanding of the child and the right tools I need in order to be able to support children's development. And also AMI, Association Montessori International, with its headquarters in Amsterdam, is an organization started by Maria Montessori in order to retain and maintain the integrity of her work. And practically speaking, I just think that if you have the right adult, do the right training, then the impact that they have on children's development is phenomenal. AMI training is rigorous. It really kind of asks you to have high expectations out of yourself in order to serve the child. And that rigor, I've realized, having done diplomas, prepares you to enjoy your work with children. And it also gives you a robust understanding of children's development, which when I read neuroscience or alternative educators speak is parallel. It echoes exactly the same thing. One of the things that Julia touched upon, movement is so important in education, and AMI offers a high quality training. And in order to bring practices that are deeply invested in child development, I have found AMI trainings to be robust, intense, and also equip a transformation. It brings about a transformation in you as a person in order to reach out to children. And I think it's also important that, Julia, you are you're on the board, right?
Well, I think for me the focus is that transformation. AMI is, I don't think it's ever going to change the fact that it needs face-to-face. There is always going to be a face-to-face component. There's many courses out there that are all online. It will never go that way. It's quite dedicated because it believes that this bringing communities of learners together is part of this process. It's not always easy to learn beside people because it's quite an intense process, as you know, and as we know, everyone here who's done one of these courses knows. And so you all have to work together, don't you, to get to the end, to get these diplomas. And it's quite an interesting process to watch. Certainly as a trainer, you see this process unfold. Those people who are able to become really part of this community and work alongside others. And I think that's part of that transformation as well. You see wonderful things happen with students because as they start to understand more deeply and are in conversations and discussions on the theory that Montessori left us with, the gift she really gave to us, it's there that this transformation really happens. So it's not just, the transformation is individual, but it's also, I feel, it's part of being, I think, in this community of learners and doing it together. Because you hear different voices, different understandings, different perspectives. And in the world we live in today, it's really important we're good at that because as I just observed in your classroom this morning, there's 3 of you in there. So you need to not only take care of the children, but also you're responsible as the lead educator to take care of your staff. And again, how you communicate with them, the children are absorbing and seeing and learning from how you are with everyone around you. So it gives you those skills that diversity is good, that we don't all have to be the same, that, we want to nurture in these young children to feel comfortable in their own skin, to feel like I can be myself. And I think in the world we're living in now, we need to allow that. We have to embrace it. So, yeah, I feel AMI training does more than give you the tools. And yes, it's very robust. I mean, we know that. But it allows, and to even know the child, but it also allows you to know yourself
Yes.
and what you've got to continue to work on, which is a lifelong process.
And I think the reason why it's robust, it's so rigorous, is because we are catering to international standards.
Yes.
It's not flexible in terms of, we can,
Yes.
chalta hai. We don't have that attitude. We are all so passionate.
Yes.
And the whole community, the entire global community of AMI, associated, anybody who's associated with AMI, there is a whole different level of maturity, a whole different level, I don't know, a spiritual evolution that is common, I've seen in all AMI trained people.
Yes.
Which I find is I'm blessed to be a part of that community.
Yeah, and it is a global community.
It's a global.
And you feel it when you go to those congresses or you go to the AGM.
Yes.
You feel it,
Yes.
and you realize you had the same training as the person standing next to you that might have got it in the UK or Australia or the US, or it doesn't matter where you've done it, in Vietnam, India. You all receive the same training, and you become part of this global community, and there's great joy in that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much, Kavya. It was really wonderful to talk to both of you. And we're really looking forward to the orientation course in November. I'm sure we'll have many people who would be interested in it. And thank you so much for all the time and giving us all these insights about Montessori.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.